In this video, we're going to go through Chapter 9 in your Excel book, Sum If, Count If, and Average If, and Sum Ifs, Count Ifs, and Average Ifs. So first, let's get started with how the book wants you to do it. So I'm in your E9 D1 Sales Workbook from your downloads. I'm on the tab for July sales, and let's first work on the July sales summary. So first it wants us to give the sales summary for Miami employees. So I'm going to click in cell L5, Formulas, Math and Trig, and Sum If. Okay? So the first thing it wants is the range that has the criteria. So the range that has the criteria is the location, D5 down to D33. The criteria, it has to be in double quotes because it's not a number, it's a label. Double quote, Miami. I have to make sure that I spell that correctly. And close the double quote. And now the sum range is where I want it to pick up. Since we want the sales of the Miami employees, I'm going to select H5 all the way down to H33. And notice I get an answer of $95,789. Now it wants the Miami employee commissions. It's basically the same thing, but summing column I instead of summing column H. So I'm going to go once again, Formulas, Math and Trig, Sum If. The range is attached to the criteria, so I'm going to select D5 down to D33, criteria, double quote, Miami, close the double quote, but this time the sum range is the commission, so I5 all the way down to I33. Now the range for the criteria and the range for the sum has to be identical because it's going to match up position 3 with position 3, position 4 with position 4, and notice we now have 6,876 sales. Now for Miami average sales, it's just an average if instead of a sum if. Average if is not going to be in Math and Trig, that's going to be in statistical. So formulas, more functions, statistical, and average if. So once again, the range first is attached to the criteria. So the range is going to be D5 to D33. Criteria is Miami, so double quote, Miami, close the double quote. And then the average range, we want the average sales. So H5 down to H33, $10,643. Now, for these, we're going to use sum ifs because we want Miami employees whose sales are greater than 10,000, Toronto employees whose sales are greater than 10,000, and finally, Miami managers' commissions for sales that are less than 10,000. So for those, we're going to have to use sum ifs because we have multiple criteria. Next up is our Miami employees whose sales are greater than $10,000. So for that, we're going to have to use sum ifs because there's multiple criteria. First Miami, and then where the sales are greater than $10,000. So to do that, the sum is in Math and Trig, average and count are in statistical. So I'm going to click on Formulas, Math and Trig, and now Sum Ifs. So first, we want the sales, so our sum range is going to be the sales. It's arranged a little bit differently. In the sum if, the sum range is the last one, but here it's the first one. So we're going to sum up all of the sales. So our criteria range 1 is going to be for the Miami. So our criteria range 1, D5 down to D33. And our criteria 1, double quote, Miami, close the double quote. Now we have a criteria range 2. Our criteria range 2 are going to be the sales. So H5 down to H33. And now for criteria 2, it's going to be greater than 10,000. In order to do that, it has to be in double quotes. So double quote, then greater than sign, which is shift period, 10000, no commas, very important. Close the double quotes. And now we have summed up all of our sales that are from Miami, where the sales are greater than $10,000. $54,794. Now let's do the same thing for Toronto. Formulas, math and trig, sum ifs. So our sum range, this time we want the sales. So our sum range is going to be H5 down to H33. Criteria range 1, we want to test for Toronto. So our criteria range 1, D5 to D33. And our criteria 1, double quote, Toronto. Criteria range 2, sales, H5 to H33. Criteria 2, double quote, greater than, that's a less than, greater than 10000. Close the quotes. $55,137. Now, let's get to the Miami manager's commissions, where the sales are less than $10,000. So this, we're actually going to have 3, because we need a Miami. We need the position is manager, and then we need the sales less than 10,000, and we want to sum the commissions. So I'm going to click in cell L10, formulas, math and trig, and sum ifs. So the first thing we want to sum is they want the total commissions. Miami manager commissions, where they're from Miami, they're a manager, and the sales are less than 10,000. So our sum range is going to be the commissions, I5 to I33. Criteria range 1 is testing whether they're from Miami. So D5 to D33. Click in criteria 1, double quote, Miami. Now we want a Miami manager. So criteria range 2, F5 to F33. Criteria 2, double quote, manager. Close the double quote. Now notice we have a scroll bar on the right hand side in our function argument box. So I can now scroll down to criteria 3. We want where the sales are less than 10,000. So criteria range 3 are going to be the sales, H5 to H33. And criteria 3, double quote, less than, which is shift comma, 10000, and close up the quotes. Now we have an answer of $2,012. Now, on the September sales sheet, if you move on to the August sales sheet, they've actually put in all of the formulas for you, so you can kind of see how they work, right? Miami and manager and less than 10,000. And they have all of the total sales. We don't need the total, and I don't know why that is a pound value, but let's now move on to September sales. And what I want to do is I want to show you how to use the sum if and the other functions a little bit better. So let's start first. Let's say if we wanted to calculate the sales by location. I can use a sum if to calculate the total sales by location. So what I'm going to do, now remember I'm on the September sales sheet right now. I'm going to select the range E5 down to E33. I'm going to go home. I'm going to hit the copy icon. I'm going to click cell K20. I'm going to click paste. And while that is still selected, if it's not, I would just need to select it again. I'm going to click to the Data tab, and in the Data Tools group, I'm going to click Remove Duplicates. I'm going to uncheck my data has headers. Notice how it gives me column K. I'm going to click OK. And I have 5 unique values: Miami, New York, Toronto, Vancouver, and Los Angeles. If I want to sort them in alphabetical order, I can just click the Home tab. In the editing group, sort and filter, sort A to Z. Now I have Miami, Los Angeles, New York, Toronto, and Vancouver. Now I can do a proper sum if. So I'm going to click on my Formulas tab, Math and Trig, and sum if. So now my range is going to be E5 down to E33, but because I'm going to be copying this formula, I want to lock it down with my key, F4, so I'm always going to be searching the same range. Now for the criteria, instead of typing the word Miami, I'm going to click on cell K20, Miami. So notice now I get the criteria Miami in quotation marks. So now when I copy it down, it will also do the sales for Los Angeles, Toronto, New York, and Vancouver. So now in my sum range, I wanted to do the sales. So I'm going to select the range H5 to H33. And once again, very important, because I am copying it down, I need to lock it down with my F4 key or my Command T if I'm using a Mac, or just type in the $signs. So make sure that it is an absolute cell reference. So now I can click OK, and I can use the sum if to calculate my sales very easily from all the locations. I can remove those borders if I want. Home, bordering tools, no border. So now I have all of my different sales by location. Now we're going to work on commission by location and position. So we've already isolated our 5 locations. I'm going to select the range K20 to K24. I'm going to click Home. I'm going to copy that range. I'm going to paste it, in K28. And since we have 2 positions, I'm going to paste it once again in K33. So I have my 5 locations and then my 5 locations. Now, if you notice in the position, I have 2 positions. One is sales rep. So I'm going to type sales rep, and I'm going to copy that down to Vancouver. And then I have a sales director. And I'm going to copy that, use the fill handle to copy that down to Vancouver. I could have used the remove duplicates, but there were only 2 positions. So now I want the total commission by location and position. So I'm going to click in cell M28. I'm going to click on Formulas, Math and Trig, and Sum Ifs. My sum range is going to be the commission, I5 to I33, and because I'm copying this formula, I have to use the F4, I have to lock it down, otherwise it'll move it down as I copy it down. My criteria range 1 is going to be the location, so my criteria range 1, E5 to E33, have to lock that one down too with the F4, make sure it has the $signs, otherwise it's not going to work. Now instead of typing in the word Miami, I'm going to click for criteria 1 on cell K28, that first Miami. Now without the $signs, as I copy it down, it'll test Los Angeles, New York, Toronto, and Vancouver, but still provide the same sum range and criteria range. Now my criteria range 2 is going to be the position, so F5 to F33, also very important that we lock that down with the F4 or the Command T. And for our criteria 2, I'm just going to click on cell L28, Sales Rep. So notice what I've done here. Instead of typing in the Miami and the sales rep and the sales director, I've used the cell references. And now I can just simply copy that down. And I now have commission by location and position. Now the last thing we have to work on is our count if formulas. I think on the first tab I used a sum if instead of a count if, but in our September sales summary, in our September sales, we're going to count the Miami employees whose sales are greater than 10,000. We're going to count the Toronto employees whose sales are greater than 10,000, and we're going to count the Miami managers' commissions for the sales that are less than $10,000. So let's get going. The first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to click on cell L8, Formulas, More Functions, Statistical, and Count Ifs. This is actually going to be a count ifs because we have two criteria. First, Miami, and then sales that are greater than 10,000. So, criteria range 1 is going to be the location, so E5 to E33, and our criteria 1, double quote, Miami. Criteria range 2 is going to be the sales, so H5 to H33, and in criteria 2, double quote, greater than, shift period, 10000, and close the double quotes, and notice we have an answer of 6. The next one we want to count is the Toronto employees whose sales are greater than 10,000. Excuse me, I was looking at the next line. So, formulas, more functions, statistical, and count if. Count ifs, excuse me, not count if, count ifs. So our first criteria range is the location, E5, down to E33. This time our criteria 1 is Toronto, double quote, Toronto, close the double quote. Criteria range 2, sales, H5 to H33, double quote, greater than 10,000, 10000, no commas, close the double quote, and this time we get a grand count of 2. For the Miami manager commissions, we did that on our July sales sheet. We can't really do that on this sheet because it doesn't have the position, agent, and manager like it did on the September sales.